Scenario Feed Wedge. The Scenario Feed Wedge is your crystal ball on Pasture-io to see how the grazing decisions you make today will affect your feed wedge 1 week from now up to 4 weeks from now. So to get to the Scenario Feed Wedge, you just simply open Reports at the top left hand corner of the map screen, and then over on the right of the page scroll down and you'll see Scenario Feed Wedge in the list, and click this to open, and you'll see that the Scenario Feed Wedge essentially looks the same as the normal feed wedge, and that is because it is. It's got a couple of key differences though, and the first one is the data or the inputs you can change or tweak. So you can change the inputs to make those different scenarios. And the second thing is that anything you do with a Scenario Feed Wedge won't actually be saved. So you can do anything in here and you won't affect the actual feed wedge or any other data in the app. So the first tool here is the day slider. So you can slide this along, and this will be how you actually see the snapshot into the future. And beneath the day slider, you've got growth assumption. So on this farm, they're expecting a growth rate of 50 at this time of year. This is the first number that you can actually tweak and change to create those different scenarios. And then below that, you've got pasture per animal. This is the second number that you can tweak. So this is pasture, basically how much grass each animal will be getting. And then you've got time horizon below that. So this is just how much you're going to be looking into the future. So at the moment it's set to 28 days on this farm by default. You can just change this as you create your new scenarios, but you can also change this number to a default as well. So if you only ever want to look 1 week out, you can set that default to 7. And to do that, you just go up to settings in the top right hand corner and then go down to model settings. And here is where you have the Scenario Feed Wedge settings. So you can change the default grazing priority. So at the moment this one is set to highest says graze, but you can set it to longest rest days, or you can set your feed wedge to be highest pasture cover. We'll just leave it where it is. And then you have the default time horizon. So this is where you would change it to 7 days if you just wanted your default number to be 7, so you didn't have to change it every time. And then below that you've got the target line warning threshold. So the target line warning threshold is for that post and pre-grazing target line you've got on the feed wedge. So with the Scenario Feed Wedge, this number here, which is a percent, so it's by default on 10%, and this will tell you if you've got 10% of total feed above that target line. So the Scenario Feed Wedge will actually let you know that. And it will also tell you if you're below that target line by 10%, it'll give you a warning that you're in a deficit, basically. So we're just going to leave it at 10%. And then below time horizon, there is filtered area and filtered animals. So you can actually filter the Scenario Feed Wedge just like you can filter the maps. So we'll go up to the filter button in the top right hand corner, and we might actually filter this feed wedge to be for the milkers. So we'll change that to milkers. And you can see that the feed wedge has changed, and down here the filtered area is 128 and the filtered animals is 443. So because we've just changed a few inputs, we can actually run a new scenario, and we can use the day slider to see how this scenario will play out, which seems out of control with a massive surplus, and that's because the pasture per animal is on 1.9. So this is where we can start tweaking with these numbers and playing with different scenarios. So we might just bump this straight up to 16. And now we can run that new scenario. And as you can see that we've certainly got rid of that surplus, but we're actually chewing down into that target line. So we're in a deficit now. And this is where you can spend a bit of time and you can tweak these numbers to really nail in how you want your future feed wedge to look. So we'll just go 14 here. We'll go run scenario, and that's looking a lot closer to the target line. So that's just one way that you can use the Scenario Feed Wedge, but of course you can change the growth rate as well if you're expecting a better growth rate, or you can go the other way, and you can also tweak the days here. So if you just want to look 1 week out. And the final thing is you can also deselect paddocks out of here. So by holding down the Shift key and just selecting paddocks, you can actually just deselect them out of this scenario, and then you can run that new scenario and it will keep those paddocks out of the feed wedge that you're running.